Hi, I'm Alan, the CEO and co-founder of Apiable. I'm here today to give you just a very quick 5-minute overview of Apiable, give you an idea about the power it has and what it can do for you. I'm here on the welcome screen, which means I've just registered, created a new organization, Binary Demo, and a portal called Binary Demo. And this is the first screen I see when I log in, which gives you an overview of some of the things you should be doing in order to get started. So let's get started. Starting a new portal. As you would expect, you can do things like change your logo to your company's logo with the favicon, etc. Pretty standard stuff. You can have a video component if you want. Let's say we don't want that. We're going to take it off today. You can change, like, for example, the hero image. That's this one at the top. You can change the text. Let's say it's maybe just APIs or something in this case. You can match your brand color scheme. So generally speaking, every brand has its own color scheme, right? We know this. So you can add those in as you want. You can change the typography. And you can change basically the way the buttons look. So let's say that in this case, we want these rounded buttons to match our style guide. There's a few texts you can change here on the front as well to give it a different message, however you need that to be. Let's go ahead and save this quickly. Okay, so we've made a couple of changes, not very much there, but we've made some changes. So we've completed that. Let's move on to connecting the API gateway, which is probably one of the most asked about things that we have. When you create your new portal, we see the portal with data to get you going, so you can try it out. And that means we have these two API-able gateways up and running that you can connect to and see how those work, right? So if I click Add Gateway, I can, for example, add a new Amazon API gateway, and there are instructions on the left-hand side about how to do this, right? Pretty simple, especially in this case of Amazon. It's simply you copy a role, create a new role, which gives us temporary access. We get a temporary token in this case in order to connect to your system. We have two different types of authorization. Apiable gives you an OAuth 2 server from Apiable, so you can either use that, or then you can use your native authentication that comes from your API gateway. So that was a quick look at that. I'll show you one that's working. So it's this one here. We can test that out, and we can see that it's connected okay. So you can test it. So we know we can use this one. We have another one for Kong as well. So very quickly, adding gateways, your configuration owner can be doing this in just a few minutes. Let's go back and have another look again. Okay, we didn't create a new one, but that's okay. Publish an API product. Okay, so it's created a new product in this case. So I could call it, cats or something. So when I create a new product, I get to go and set some high-level attributes about how the product is, so that your API consumers can understand what the use case it is that you're trying to solve, right? So an API product can contain multiple APIs. And what we're going to do here is we're going to say, this is a collection of cat APIs, assuming there are cat APIs, right? What's interesting here as well is that, you can tailor the visibility and audience accordingly. So you could have some APIs which are open APIs. You want everyone to see and access those APIs. You can also have some APIs that are hidden, meaning that they will only appear in the product catalog once I'm logged in, right? And of course, we have approval groups, meaning that you can approve new registrations first. So you only allow people into the portal you want to have in the portal. We have the concept of audiences for your API. So again, public means that anyone publicly, as long as they can see the product, they can subscribe to it. Internal means that only teams that you flagged as internal portal teams can access the API, right? So by default, you'll have one team for your whole organization, and anybody in that team can then see that. Manual means that maybe you have like one specific partner and you want to give them access to just one API, but you don't want anyone to see it in the catalog. Then you're going to manually subscribe that partner or customer to your API, right? So that's how we solve those things there. Let's go and have a look at one we've already created, which is this like contracts one. So there's already some images and things like that. I think it's a good point to flip out to the API portal. You can see that by clicking this this icon here, and then we flip out to this one. So we saw that we made a couple of changes like rounded buttons, and we removed the video in this case, for example. Quite bare. We can add more content here as we need to. And then I've got these couple of products as well. Let me just log in quickly. Okay, I'm logged in on this one. Contracts. If we're going to have a look at this contracts one, again, we're trying to give the API consumer, be it a developer or maybe it's more of a business persona, we're trying to give them an idea about what these APIs are for. What is this API product supposed to do? We're trying to get the value of this thing across without getting too technical too quickly. Can be that your target audience are developers, and then yes, you can get more technical in these overview screens. But what we're ultimately trying to do is make it brain friendly. Plans is something, again, you can use to make it a little bit clearer what the customer is getting, right? Can be to do with monetization as well. So you can have like small plans which are free and large plans which cost like 20 euros or something, or 2,000, depending on if you're Twitter or not. So different plans are there, and you can subscribe to those plans, right? Again, plans can contain multiple APIs. If I look at the documentation, we're going to see that there are no APIs currently. So let's go back to the product and add some APIs. So I'm under contracts. I'm going to go to product plans. And product plans are really where we load these with all of these features for the API. So let's look at the starter plan. The revenue model is free. We're not charging any money for it. And we're going to say at this point, let's add some APIs. So the beauty of this is you can have different plans on different API gateways. So you could have one plan on a sandbox gateway, for instance, pointing at some sort of staging environment. And you could have another plan, which is then pointing at live, right? So we're going to go here and say, okay, let's take the Amazon gateway. We can change the other one as we see fit. Because you set the API gateway up already, you now see a list of those APIs available on this gateway. Not many in this case. You could have like 100 here. They've all got a green check mark, which means that we've been able to pull them successfully from the gateway. Let's just choose one. We've got our lovely NASA APIs in our gateway. We're going to choose just one API for this. Okay, well let's take two APIs and load them in. There we go. So they're both saved now. What we can also do here is we can be adding more features to different plans. This is what you just saw in the portal. So you can really customize these features. You can make it quite technical as well if you want to. You can talking about, rate limits and also technical things, or you can keep it really high level and talk about like what the valuable features of your plans are. Approvals. I don't currently have an approval group. If I create an approval group, I can add to this plan the approval group, which means that certain managers of the product can say yes or no to this person getting access to it. I can also say for this plan, there are limits. It's a small plan, so I might say that they can only access like 100 times a day, right? Maybe that's not so much, right? But they're on the starter plan. You could say, okay, for a larger plan, they're able to access 10,000 times a day, but then maybe they also have to pay. It's not necessarily the case, but maybe they have to pay. Let's just finally add some documentation to this one. And we're going to say, okay, in this case, we can either manually upload it or retrieve from the gateway. The documentation is in the gateway. So I'm going to say, let's go ahead and use that from the gateway. Okay. I'm going to save the changes. So I've saved the documentation for picture of the day on prod. Okay, so that's saved. Let's go back over to the portal. And here you can see, okay, I have the documentation. We put the documentation on the starter plan. That's when we added the APIs. There's no APIs yet on the growth plan, but we've put the APIs on the starter plan. And voila, we see the documentation. Not the most interesting documentation for this API, but what I can do here as well is say, okay, if you pop in your API token that you get from your subscription, and we can register a subscription shortly, get your API token, and then you can try it out, right? So you can say, okay, do a get, and hit this try button if you put your token, and then you get the response back. So the documentation is wired up to your back end to try out. What you can also do is put like code examples in here, for example, and yeah, really tailor this how you want it. It comes with your colors as well. Your star guides come in here as well, so it's all wired up. Let's go ahead and subscribe to this plan. It was a starter plan we created. I'm just gonna say, okay, let's put the date in as well, like this. So I'm giving it a name so that I, as a developer, can understand what I've done. Costs 0 per month. There's no approval process necessary on this one. Yeah, so I can go ahead and subscribe to it. So it's complete. Again, no approval process needed in this case. So I get, immediate access, and then I get the API token that I can use then to make API calls. There's a very quick overview of how that works. If I go back to the demo here, I can then see under users, okay, we've got, my user I just used. We can see here that the user is accessed via a team. So we have the team construct where multiple developers are part of one team, and that team gets access to the subscription, right? So they all share the same subscription. And I can see that subscription. I can change, for example, the end date. I can regenerate keys, revoke keys if there's been a problem, etc. So I can do all that within the portal administration part. And yeah, lastly, within the organization part, which is your organization, I can invite team members to join the organization. I can specify, okay, I can add a new approval group. I can say that it's binary managers, for example, and add myself and my colleagues who should be approving things here. I can specify groups. So I can say, okay, how I work within my organization. So you could have like billing team with billing APIs and procurement team with procurement APIs, and you only have access then to your API products, right? So that you don't have to like share them amongst the organization. Different to the visibility where you can say, okay, this is available to all internal teams at this point. Billing, obviously, and the integrations we looked at, that's your gateways in this case. So that was a very quick overview. I hope it was useful for you. And yeah, feel free to reach out to me or anyone in Apiable and ask any questions you have. It's also possible to get a free trial of this via Amazon or via Apiable. Yeah, so let us know how you get on. Thanks.